Somebody coming up the next door.
So, if you understand, you put your powder down in the pan, close the prison up. Now I'm at full cock, I'm off safety, at full cock, and boom. And this gun here, if I'm doing Rev War, is the French were our allies. They supplied the Americans with a lot of Charleville musket. This is a French reproduction design musket. It was made in Charleville, France. This one wasn't, but that's where they were coming from. And the French became our allies, and they had a lot of, they were second to none in building firearms. So any of their, this is a 1756 model. And so when they got a new model come out, they would immediately, they'd either throw them away. So they had these arms and they gave them to the Americans during the Revolution. They didn't have. So this, we call them Charlies. And these could also be used during the French and Indian War period. But, so this is the United States infantry musket is designed on this principle right here. The Americans like that design so well. If you look at a Civil War musket, it's very, very similar, only a Civil War musket is a cap. And they're smooth bore, there's no rifling in them. So my job is to go down there and participate in the battles as a reenactor, keep this thing clean, keep this thing working. And she does the cooking and all that stuff. So I'm you know, this is all new to me, so I'm just explaining, what do you do? Well, that's what I do. I'm a soldier. That they want firepower out there, and it's a lot of fun. And like I say, it's very exciting. And safety is number uno. I mean, that's a weapon. I actually live fire these things. And if we get close, like if the line's coming from here to that wall, there'll be a guy on the end of the line, raise your musket, we fire up. You don't want to, some of the black powder may be coming, don't want to point right at them. So when they get kind of in close, your musket, you elevate your musket up, boom. And this one I used during the Revolutionary War, and we also portray French milice. So I have a different one. Here's the clothes. We have moccasins, leggings, white shirt, red hat. This could have been a Montreal brigade. Quebec might have had a blue hat. I don't know which is which. And when I'm doing that, I use this one. This is a reproduction QC de chasse. The French imported these. This would, like from the 1720s on, as trade muskets to the Indians. It's a trade musket. I love this gun. Fusil de chasse is a hunting rifle. That's what that means. And this is the one I use when I do the French milice. That one's very heavy. This one, last year, we do competition shooting. I placed 10th in the nation. It was in the magazine, yeah.
Nice.
And when they say that these, you know, you've heard how the muskets were very not accurate. Well, they probably weren't that accurate in the hands of a British soldier. They would wanted one good volley, and then you're going on a bayonet, okay? But I wouldn't want, and the New England area up here, this is what they had, smoothbores. They didn't have rifles back then. From the 1770s, 1780s, F&I period up to the Revolution, those guys were carrying smoothbore rifles. I mean smoothbores, no rifling. I don't know, probably not really.
Does anybody understand what he means by the difference between smoothbore and rifle?
We don't get too complicated. You know, the barrel B rifle would spin much more accurate. But I wouldn't want anybody shooting at me with one that knew what they were doing with this thing at 100 yards. At 100 yards offhand, I put 3 in the scoring ring with this gun.
Woo,
3 out of 5.
woo,
So they're pretty accurate.
that's
Yeah.
a football field,
Yeah,
100 yards.
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, I had 3 in, I was impressed.
wow.
So anything
He
from
was
50,
impressed.
from 50 yards into 25, these things, right on the money.
So when you say those are heavy, how much do they actually weigh?
That one there probably weighs about 8 or 9 pounds.
Okay.
This one's lighter, that's why I like it.
Yeah.
And they traded thousands of these to the Indians, the French did. If you see the shots,
I got a question about the flint.
yeah.
Was that issued? Where do they get it?
It was all, they purchased it, it was, the English had them, they'd buy English, French, they'd make the flints, the stuff was all imported. There was
Shape.
French,
Right to shape.
yep, also the French made flints. In a pinch, you could go out and find a rock or
Yeah.
find some flint.
Carve one down.
That's the critical thing with these guns I'm not gonna pull the trigger on this, I know it's not loaded, but I didn't put the ramrod down. But that's your firing mechanism, you know, then they went to a cap, which exploded. And now there's a little primer on the end of a shell. But they're fun to shoot.
This is where the expression comes from, lock, stock, and barrel.
So this one, we call these, Tulle because they were made in Toul, France, Tulle. So, you know, the reenactors will call those Charlies, Tulles, and, so,
So the percussion.
I'm done with,
Percussion cap came when? During the revolution?
I'd say, no, percussion camp, probably the 1830s, 1840s. Yeah.
And that's what I shoot. I don't shoot flintlock. I shoot
If you're in a reenacting a battle, is it an actual reenactment of a battle that happened back then?
Well, we do battle, the one I really love to do is Hubbardton because that's on the actual battle site. It hasn't changed. Normally like Fort Ticonderoga, we do battles there, but I don't know if they were actually ever attacked. So the answer is yes or no.
And the other thing they do is, normally, if you win on Saturday, you're losing on Sunday. If you
Well,
win on
they
Saturday,
at
you lose on
the
Sunday.
leaders will decide who's gonna win that day or lose. So they
Yeah,
kinda,
They do. So,
they kinda make up a scenario.
yeah.
On average, how often do they misfire? In other words, the spark doesn't.
This one here, if you know what you're doing with these, there's so many, you've gotta become very familiar. My wife shoots a cap and ball. And I would rather shoot this flintlock than watch all the misfires she has. So if you know what you're doing with the flint, I see more misfires with a cap and ball than I do with a flint. But you gotta keep that flint very tight, it's gotta be sharp, nothing can be loose. And, it sounds simple, but you gotta use them for a while.
You can sometimes shoot all day and not have a misfire.
So I could shoot a lot without maybe not having a miss. I also do the winter biathlons, and this particular gun here, it's a reproduction and made in probably the 1970s, but in Japan.
Oh.
The best gun builder in Vermont said if I had to arm people today and they were gonna go out and fight with flintlock, it would be that model right there. You could almost put a rock in that thing and it'll go. It's good, so.
Could you talk about how you get the powder in again? Cause I saw you had that little
Yeah,
piece of paper, I didn't quite get
This right
the.
here, we roll our own cartridges. This would be, black powder, 3F.
That's
It's a
it.
granular,
Yeah, yeah,
all cartridges up until, the 1880s were black powder. You know the brass, they were black powder. Then they developed a modern powder. So black powder's been, so that modern powder's only been around for, 1880s, 1890s, maybe? So what you do, they say, prime and load, and then the oil excitement gets up. You rip this off,
With your teeth.
you're on safety, and you tap a little bit, there's a pan right there
Yeah.
with a touch hole that goes in here.
yeah.
So you tap it in, you look, and you close the pan, come back down over here, take the rest of that powder and dump it down in there.
And they were actually using little,
They did, this
Thick
is what they
paper.
would have used, but there would have been
never
a ball
seen
in
that
there.
before, right.
And, they would, and this is the, right here. That's a 9-shot cartridge, I put it on here, and I just, as I need them, I've got another one.
Oh, so there's little
They sit right in there, yeah.
containers, yeah.
I've got one that'll hold 16 rounds, that one only holds 9, I use that on the biathlons, or 10, because if you put 16 rounds through that gun, you can't hold that barrel. I figure if I get through those 16 rounds, you know, and you're excited, you know, people are running around doing things, and if you touch that barrel, you're burning, it's hot.
So is the ball inside that black powder packet? Is that what you're?
Yeah, they'll roll this up and there'll be a ball there, okay?
Oh,
And then they'd rip the bottom, and then they'd take the ball, and the rest of it would get rammed down.
With the rest of the powder.
Yeah,
Powder first.
yeah, this would all get pushed down
Powder
on top of the, you know, the powder comes out, the ball's on the top, okay?
Oh, I see.
Then you just, it'll come down onto the thing, and it'll all go out the front.
But the paper never goes in there.
Yeah, they would, the paper, they'd put the whole thing down there.
Oh, so the paper
Yeah, the
goes down.
paper, they'd put the ball, they'd use it like for a wadding, and it's the same with the Civil War boys had the same thing. When they were resupplied with ammunition, they would be issued paper cartridges like this. And they would go into their tin containers. And,
Wow.
and so the powder horn, you know, they would have carried, go ahead.
That particular musket,
Yeah,
what that is, doesn't seem to have that little safety that the other one had.
this one is not set up, you're correct, that's good, yeah. I took it off, I used it this winter, I was shooting.
Okay, because ordinarily it does.
Yeah, I could not go on the battlefield until I installed the flash protector, which I have,
Okay.
and I'd have to have the frizzen. But I live shoot these through the winter, and I just happen to grab it, I'll bring that gun too. Actually, I did use that one this
A
year.
biathlon is wooden snowshoes around a course, and there's 9 different targets, and with flintlock or cap and ball, and there's 4 different ones that he does in the winter in
So-
different areas.
So we all, before the battle starts, our units have to go out there and the officer come down and do line inspection. If I walked onto that line without that stuff, go get it fixed. And I don't, go ahead.
How do, does every soldier make up their own
Yeah,
cartridges?
what I do
And
is
how do they know how much powder to put in?
I got a horn at 100 grains. I've got them horn measured. You know, you can actually use a powder measure. You can set how many grains you want.
Okay,
Now, my horn uses 100. You don't, so I roll them and put them in that block, and then I'll take that horn and I'll pour the powder in there and I'll twist the top.
Said by horn, you mean a little.
A little cow horn,
Yeah.
a cow horn, will hold measured 100 grain.
Right.
They don't want, sometimes you go out there and this guy beside you, I mean, what's he shooting, a cannon? Well, he's double loaded. He wants to make a lot of noise. They don't like that. They want you 100 grains, some of it in there is enough.
okay, now, in battle, where you actually have a measured
No,
amount that you
no,
put
because
in?
it's already measured. You're pouring it into this cartridge. Okay, I got 16 cartridges with 100 grains in it.
Okay, so at the end of a day, was each soldier making up his new cartridges for the
Yeah,
next
we-
day?
Yeah, you usually will
Okay.
roll up a bunch of them at home and bring them before we go down there.
Okay, now, back in French and Indian War, how were they doing?
You know, if there were a ranger unit out there, I would think probably most of them were doing that. I know, like your colonial troops, your regular line troops would be doing that, and whether these rangers weren't maybe using a powder horn, I don't know. I find this very fast, it makes, you know, so they would have had a horn on them, because they had to carry powder with them. They had
But
to-
that, was that, like that powder horn? Would
Yeah, I
that
got
have,
that just as kind of show you, a friend of mine made that, and it's It's all about, pass it around, pass it down through, man. There's no powder in it. But take a look at that, it's pretty cool. It's got the, kind of the day with Vermont was state and stuff. Yeah, it would have been similar to that, and the French horns were big, but they had that long horn.
So, but it was, when you're saying 100 grams or grains or something,
That thing would hold probably 300 grains.
so you had some little thing they were
Yeah,
using?
they make little
And
measure-
that you would be refilling the little one from
Well,
this?
Yeah, what I do, yeah, I could do that. At home, I fill it like a pound can, stuff. Yeah,
Would the wife assist with reloading the little twisties?
not normally. Not
No.
normally, no.
So she's got other stuff.
Yeah, she says that's why I'm up here running my mouth when I'm gonna be done. That's what I do as a reenactor. I am a history nut, I love history, but I don't wanna say things that I misspoke of, so you read that, that's an interesting little piece of paper if you'd like to read about that unit. There's things on there I didn't know. And
As a camp follower, which is what I would be if I was where he is in battle, I would be tending to the cooking and making sure that he is comfortable, and
They
at
wouldn't.
times,
they- you would not,
But
in
that
real life,
didn't
they wouldn't have been
happen.
with us, but.
But that didn't happen
if you're
all the time.
reenacting. Yeah.
That doesn't happen all the time.
So they go and set the camps, if you've ever been to one, and Chris has been to them, you'll see a row of tents and women cooking, and then we get together, we go out in the fields, I usually do 2 battles a day, normally, and,
And if it's really warm, you'll find someone dressed
oh, yeah, I wouldn't
not
just,
like this on the battlefield with a bucket of water. You know, if the guys are down on the ground or whatever, making sure that they don't conk out from the heat. But
But that's not the way
but
it
that
was.
would not have happened.
well,
I think there's a question here.
go ahead.
You had indicated that if you were in a real battle with a ball, you'd use the paper and put it all in, tamp it down.
I think so, I'm not,
But,
go ahead.
but when you're reenacting, you're not even, you were throwing the
They don't
paper.
want anything in that barrel,
Right.
not even a piece of paper.
all there is
That's
is
how
powder.
you
Yeah.
fire it.
Yeah. And
So it's just powder, the powder.
just a powder, and they don't want you, like, if they were from here to the wall, they don't want you pointing right at them. They
Yeah.
elevate, elevate, they'll be coming in. And a lot of times they'll reenact so that they can come in close, and they'll be planning on taking a hit just towards the end of the battle, like a British unit. They'll all go down, so it's pretty cool, they want elevate, boom, and they go down. It's cool, yeah. Anyway, while I'm doing this, I wanna just point out one thing. This jacket right here, this is, the Vermont troops in 1775. Ethan Allen and Seth Warner went down to the Continental Congress and said, hey, we got an army up there, they've been fighting the Yorkers, we got men that are, oh, we're ready to go, and they were hurting for soldiers. So the Continental Congress authorized them to raise 500 men of Green Mountain Rangers. This was their uniform. Okay, they were Continental Line, okay? That's why I get it. This would have been their uniform. And then we were raised, we were more like a National Guard unit. We may or may not we weren't issued uniform. We probably would not have had this uniform. I could wear it. We fight with the Warner Group, but, so if you understand that these guys were organized in 1775, and they went through hell. They went up to Canada, got run out of Canada, and down, and Seth Warner fought hard, and he was right through to the Battle of Bennington, and he didn't live too long after. They wrecked his health. They took him back to Connecticut or Massachusetts, and he died down there, not too old, because they fought really hard. And then if you read that handout, you'll see what our unit participated in. And I might have, these are what they call small clothes. I would have had I would have had this on maybe, and it wouldn't have been unreal. I might have even had, I do wear moccasins too. They might have had moccasins also. So, I know that it's a lot to absorb, but that's what I do, and it's a ball. I'm playing Cowboys. I'm laying on the ground. I mean, I could, go ahead.
How long have you been doing it?
Oh, God.
25 years?
At least 25 years. Long time.
I tell you, I could be here all night telling you stories and stuff that's happened.
And how many times a year do you go out and do that?
We were doing up to 3 or 4. We probably do now. We're getting older and worn out. And
Used to do more than 3 or 4 when we
it's a
started.
lot of work.
Do they pay a pension?
Huh?
Do you
No,
guys
they
do-
don't pay a pension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So Dick, do some people, they take the British side, so they have to have the British uniforms?
Yeah, they-
and-
a lot of those guys come out of Massachusetts and they are
They also come down
wicked
from
British
Canada.
units. They dress to the max. They've got drummers. And they're fun to fight against. They're fun to be around.
A lot of French Canadians come down.
And a lot of,
Really?
and the French Canadians will come down. They have, during the French and Indian Wars, they have some great units, some great people, and they are right to the T. Their unit leader wouldn't go out without shaving in the morning. I mean, they're, they got their long white uniforms right to the gnats. They are French line troops.
And even in the summer, they're wearing wool.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Hubbardton, I love Hubbardton. Last year it was some hot. And I was able to go up in my small clothes and we had to go, if you've ever been there, the battle was up on top of the hill.
Yeah.
And we were in a line, we had to march up there and there was an older guy in front of me and I was having a tough time with it. And I said, oh, this guy ain't gonna make it. He didn't make it. I can't go. Yeah, so-
Do they still do the dawn attack
Yep,
first thing in the morning?
Sunday
Yeah.
morning.
Like 6 o'clock or
Yeah.
Yeah.
when it
The
actually
Battle of Hubbardton, they were evacuating Ticonderoga. They left, the Vermont would have been Warner's group. Seth Warner was there, and a New Hampshire unit as the rear guard. So they got just almost to that battle site, and at the bank, I've been down it, we fought up that bank. It goes way down, and there's a sucker brook that runs down there. Well, the Vermont unit and the New Hampshire unit decided they were gonna take a break. So they stopped at that brook, and they got hit, totally unprepared, first thing in the morning by the British rear guard trying to catch the army. So that's when they fought up that hill, and they fought in the field. The New Hampshire unit and Seth Warner's unit held them. They were kicking butt, but the Germans, they sent a German troop down, the British sent a runner back, so the Germans show up and came in and hit the Americans on the left flank, and they had to retreat. But they were almost ready to take a surrender from the British, but the Germans, so the main army scattered over the mountains to safety, and a lot of the leader of the New Hampshire group was killed, a lot of men were killed, and the rest of them, they split and got out of there. But that precipitated the Battle of Hubbardton. Then they blamed it on the Vermont troops. But if you think about it, they stopped the British from chasing them any further that day, at that time. And then they went down through and the Battle of Bennington occurred.
Hubbardton's really neat because it is the only place we reenact that is where it actually really happened.
Well, a battle was right on that field. It's,
Yeah.
the stone wall's right there. We'll fight right on come the wall, and it's kind of cool to be able to do that.
Yep.
But anyway, so I'm
Miss
done.
me.
How many of you are there? How many reenactors are there?
Uh,
And part two, I think I've seen Seth Warner Brigade in parades.
Yes,
Probably.
Seth Walker, they're a pretty big unit. Well, years ago, like I think you were at that. We were at some anniversary of Ticonderoga. There was 1,500 reenactors at Ticonderoga. 1,500. It's dropped off now with everything going on, but it's still going. But there could be anywhere from 50 to 150. Yeah. So.
If you've never been, and you see that line of redcoats coming up over the hill he's talking about, you talk about your hair standing up in the back.
Oh yeah. When they
It's
say
an amazing
prime,
sight.
when they say prime and load, it's game time. And last year, 2 years ago, I was at Hubbardton, and me and another guy got separated from our group. The battle was becoming hectic, and I fell And I looked, and here's the British unit coming in. They weren't very far away. I said, I have to get my ass off the ground and get out, because they'll capture you. They'll take your stuff. and
They'll take your guns, they'll take.
I said, I
You
better
have to
get
find
moving.
it afterwards.
So I got up and I
Oh, yeah,
started
they don't
running.
care.
And the guy beside me
A lot
was
of the
running.
guys, when they fall, they'll fall on
goes-
top of their stuff so that they can't take it from them.
So I'm running down that hill, and next thing I know, I'm airborne. I'm airborne. Boom, I hit the ground, I got up running. And the guy goes afterwards, we ran through the line just to get the hell out of there, we didn't want to get captured. And he said, yeah, I saw you doing a Superman there. It's cool, and those guys are serious. They take this thing seriously, they would have grabbed me and hauled me right back.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a place to actually, they have like a hillside that's near, Hubbardton where people can watch this?
Yeah, you can stand right at the bottom of the hill and see the whole thing. Most of the places where we go, that's the case. They usually put it where the public can see.
Some people even go up on that ledge.
Yeah.
Can't remember the name of the hill.
Well, you know that hill, our unit, I was up on that one
Oh,
time,
yeah,
the mountain,
yeah.
yeah. I got a picture at home, it's cool. Got a bunch of guys up there and. it's
We heard
cool.
them firing
Yeah.
from down in the camp.
Yeah, you can look right down on the camp.
Yeah.
So, do you have any way of protecting your
Yeah, I
hearing?
do, I
Your
have
hearing?
earplugs, I won't go out without them, I just, they're, you know, they're little spongy
You're
things.
allowed to use
If
those.
I don't have those, I wouldn't go out.
Yeah,
Because,
okay.
I mean, you'll go deaf, I'm
He's
pretty
almost
deaf.
deaf now, so
I'm
you
pretty
have to
deaf
wear
now,
them.
so yeah, I won't go out. You get protected.
Were you or any of your fellow reenactors that you know that were in the Ken Burns documentary series?
We do know some that were in Ken Burns' documentary that he did. I think Craig Russell was, and.
He was.
I think so. I don't know about John Sewell, he might have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, his stuff is really good,
Yeah.
really good.
I wanted to ask, what years was the French and Indian War?
I wanna say it started in like 1754, 55. They had been having a series of wars. We find that the French and Indian War was a 7-year war for us. They called it, and so if they started in 1755 plus 7, 1762,
73.
Wolfe took Quebec. What's it, Quebec. Was killed. That was in September 59. I think the agreements were something like 1760, 1761. And the Americans provided, you had the regular British soldiers up here in the Northeast during that time, but they didn't have the force. So what'd they do? They had thousands of provincial soldiers that came up and learned how to fight.
You had no
And
experience.
that's kind of, so when they got really, when America said, yeah, we can beat these guys, that's where they got a lot of their experience. A lot of the officers came out of there.
Yesterday was the 250th anniversary of the beginning of the Revolutionary War
Yeah.
in Concord and Lexington, Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'll stop now because I've been talking for a long time, but I mean, I love this stuff. I'm just gonna throw something out at you. Definitely read that paper if you like history. It's good. And you've heard of Waits Field, Vermont. I think he's a Major Waite is mentioned in that. Waite. He was down there, he's known as General Waite down in Waitsfield. He's got a big house down there. I don't know if you've ever been there. Well, this fascinates me. He was with, ever heard of Robert Rogers Rangers during the war? Okay. He was an ensign with Rogers Rangers on the raid to St. Francis. And they came back and he was 70-something years old when he went up and founded Waits Field. My family's from that area. Oh, really? Yeah, Waits Field. So the history is interesting.
Please feel free to come up and
So anyway, I'm
look
done.
and ask questions
Run
if
my
you
mouth
see
now.
anything. Yes, ma'am.
I think everybody should be counting his buttons. I think he should be
I didn't
thanking
pop my
Marlene
head.
for doing those buttons. Those buttons.
Well, look at them on that coat.
Yes.
Yeah, tell him how you, she has sewn all my clothes here.
Wow.
Oh,
Except obviously my socks and not these, but everything else. And what she do, where the stitches show, she hand stitches.
Wow.
I cheat by machine where it doesn't show, and then everything else I do by
She
hand.
does
The
by hand.
buttonholes are by
You
hand.
did it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's made
We
all,
buy very little because it's very expensive.
she's made all
The
this stuff.
clothing is very, that Rev coat, I've probably got about $50 worth of wool, and the buttons are like $1 a piece,
I
but
mean,
to
yeah.
buy that, it would cost about $400.
Is that the lady's knife?
Yes. It's hanging around my neck.
It is, really.
I have a question. You said you were reenacting a person from Worcester, Vermont?
Calais.
From Calais, okay. And so that would have been in the years when in New York and New Hampshire were trying to take over Vermont, isn't that
Right,
right?
yes.
So were you defending against New York and New Hampshire, or were you defending against the British, or just generally protecting?
No, what
Vermont?
happened, you know, the feud with the Yorkers, okay? Then the revolution started. So everybody's whole issue changed, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we haven't got into Vermont yet, but we got bigger problems to solve. Now listen to this. So Seth Warner, Ethan Allen with Benedict Arnold, they captured Ticonderoga, right? You know, who captured what? Anyway, so they got it and they pissed Congress off. Wait a minute here. You guys are going too fast with this. Look, we got cannons and everything else. So they were just not gonna do anything with Ticonderoga, and Benedict Arnold and Ethan Allen wrote letters and say, hey, look, we've got this, you've got to defend this place, you've got to hold it, we got cannons here. So Seth Warner and Ethan Allen, and now this Yorker issue you're talking about, now on the back burner, okay? It's on the back burner. They were still going back, and the Yorkers were still kind of arguing, and et cetera. They go down to the Continental Congress and said, look, I got a ready-made force up there. We've got the Green Mountain Boys. They've already been fighting the Yorkers for years, or keeping them out. Ethan Allen they never killed anybody. They did. So the Congress said, we can raise 500 guys. So the Congress authorized them to raise 500 troops, called them Green Mountain Rangers, with those jackets, to Seth Warner and Ethan Allen, okay? So that's answering your question, right? Your understanding. So who do you think was gonna fund that? Now this is, to me, this is cool. New York. New York gonna pay for this. The Congress said, well, they're gonna pay for these guys. Yeah. And so they come back and Ethan's marching around, I'm gonna be the colonel, you know? He never got one vote. Because he was a swaggering bragger.
Yeah.
He was good for what he did. So they knew, the younger men, that, well, in the meantime, he went up to Canada or something, and he got his, really, didn't know what he was doing, so Seth Warner got elected to be the leader of the Continental troops in Vermont. Ethan Allen's history, he ends up getting captured a couple months later. He goes to Schuyler and said, hey, look, I wanna do something. And, well, okay, you can go out, why don't you head up to Canada or anything? Well, he headed up to Canada with some men got captured, and he was gone, shipped him to England, he was out of the war. So, does that answer your question? And in the meantime, so when it was all over with, a big controversy about the grants, okay? Who owns what? After the war, they agreed, New York agreed, you pay us $60,000 in silver, and we will get rid of any title that we may claim. You have the boundaries that you want, and that's how this thing ended. Okay?
After 1783.
Yeah, well, we were an independent state independent republic from 77 till 1791.
Yeah.
1770.
And, but New York in that time, Vermont paid them, the 60,000 in silver. They relinquished all claim they had over here in their territory.
Because Governor Benning had already come over and taken Bennington, so how did they get rid of New Hampshire?
Huh?
How did we get rid of New Hampshire? Benning had come over.
New Hampshire wanted us to come over, some towns over across the Connecticut River. It all worked out to the boundaries that we have today. New Hampshire, the state of New Hampshire, yeah, they squawked, they wanted some stuff, and then it all worked out through negotiations or however, to the Connecticut River, in the boundaries that we have today.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna say
Yeah, I'm done.
that chapter 2, or the sequel, will be on September 21st, when we host Kevin Graffinino, and his book on Ira Allen is really good.
It is,
At
yeah.
explaining, you know, people coming up from Connecticut, Massachusetts, the land grants, the whole issue with New York, with New Hampshire, and then the eventual development of early days of Vermont, founding of Vermont. And it really does cover a lot of what he's trying to explain here. And it's well written, and it just kind of gets you back in that time frame and that whole southern Vermont, what was going on between over in New York State and over in New Hampshire and right here in Vermont. So it gives you a real good feeling for that. So it's Kevin Graffinino's book on Ira Allen, and he'll be
I
speaking.
might come to that one.
Yeah.
But the other book that is really good is Charles Jelson. He was a professor in New Hampshire, Ethan Allen. That kind of, it's not only about Ethan Allen, but that explains that whole thing very. The Reluctant Republic by DeWalt, that's another one that does it, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Ethan and Ira were brothers, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, but very different.
So it's called a
Natures.
shadow lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
I saw that.
Heman was involved.
Yeah, it'll be, I think we're in East Montpelier.
Case.
Well, I came here as a,
Well, before we do side conversation,